does beg the question of like, what is an MVP, right? Like, I think sometimes, I think the MVP is oftentimes year in, year out has been the best player on the best team. But it's like that team has so many other variables that are in place. They have other players that are making them the best team in baseball. It's not just one player. It's not like the NBA, right? Where you put LeBron on a team, that team's going to win 50, 60 games, right? But you take Sandy, who's just killing it. Like, yeah, you're every 5 starts, you have a good chance to win. But then what about the other 4, right? Then like, okay, great. You know, you're very valuable in those 5 games, but if you're not as valuable 162 games out of the season, or maybe 150, then it's like, how much merit does being valuable have there? Versus just being the best player on the best team, and that's the MVP, which I always feel is like a lazy argument to have. If you're going to call it the MVP, if you call it the most, I don't know, impactful or coolest player in baseball, then that's one way to look at it. Or I don't know, like some sort of award show type of thing, like best actor or whatever. It's like, I don't know, is it really the best acting of the year? Maybe not. But sometimes I feel like the MVP is just, they'll give it to people just for other reasons rather than are they actually the most valuable towards a team. But that's what I think right now. It's just, I believe Alcantara probably would be the most MVP and the Cy Young, but just because of the amazing season he's having and the actual value he has for the Marlins. Because without him, like, holy cow, where would they be? I mean, they have Lopez, right? He's having an amazing year, but I feel like Alcantara's having like an otherworldly year from all the advanced baseball metrics that I look at here. So
yeah, it's just too bad Miami doesn't have a lot of wins, because it's like if they were just a better baseball team, then I think that argument just gets more and more. Look, like they're dancing around 500 actually, like 39 and 41. I guess they're like similar to the White Sox, but I don't know if they have a good second half and they're like in wild card play. I mean, it's really hard for me to sit back and be like, I want to give the pitcher the MVP award because they're only going once every 5 games, but and there's been some pretty good hitters in the NL just in terms of like guys who can compete. But yeah, as far as Cy Young goes, and if we're just talking about like, I don't know, theoretical MVPs for each club, if we go, club by club, I think he's the MVP of the Marlins for sure. And yeah, that whole MVP thing has definitely been reinterpreted over time, because it used to just be most outstanding statistical player is player X. And then I don't know if it was like the 90s or 2000s, but it's like all of a sudden, I mean, maybe it was like around the time where they just got tired of giving Michael Jordan MVP. They were like, okay, what's the other way we could like analyze this so we don't have to keep giving it to Michael Jordan? Okay, let's look at the other greatest teams in the league and then like find who's the best player. Okay, Karl Malone, you get the MVP this year. It's like, so I don't know. It always kind of seemed weird though, because it's like, there's been years like Freddie Freeman the other year won the MVP, but then like his left fielder Ozuna was like 3rd in the voting, and he's like their left fielder. They've got Albies at 2nd. They got Acuna in right. They got Swanson at short. It's like, all right, so you have all these great hitters. Why is that guy the best? The most valuable player in this league? Because we saw Acuna was injured last year, and they still won the World Series. So if Freeman went down that same year, who's not to say they would have been like in the hunt for the World Series with Freeman down? So it's kind of a goofy, it's a goofy way of naming the best player. I mean, you could just seriously just look at like statistical brilliance every year and just be like, statistically, wow, that is the best player in the league. Who cares what their team did? Really, it's just like he would be the most sought after, valuable player in this league. If we were to think of it that way.
Yeah, and they oftentimes do that. I mean, Shohei last year, right? Like, I'm not sure if there was like a complete like standout. And maybe that's the whole thing. Like, if there's somebody that's like a Barry Bonds season hitting like 73 homers or something like that, right? Then it's like, what else is what else like are other people doing? So you have those anomaly seasons, right? Where Shohei, it's like, oh, he's having like almost like a Cy Young pitching season, but he's also like hitting 40 home runs in a season too. So it's like that, and then there's also the Russell Westbrooks, right? Which is like, oh, this guy's averaged a triple double. Let's give him the MVP too. And then, oh yeah, he made a nice last minute shot, so he has that MVP moment that everybody wants to talk about. But I otherwise I feel like the MVP ought to just be like the award for best player on the worst team, because it's like if the worst team lost their best player, then that team's going to lose all their games or whatever, right? Like that's at least my thinking. So yeah, I feel like they need to rebrand MVPs all across the leagues. So
yeah, I think maybe if they want to like keep their current mindset around how the MVP is determined, like looking at the performance of the team, the player, etc. That's great. That should be like one part of the consideration. The other should just be like that, like duh factor. Like when Ohtani's pitching and he's hitting 40 home runs, you're just like, okay, we haven't seen this in like 30 years. Or like you were saying with Russ, I think that's a great example, because it's like, yeah, we don't see very often a guy averaging a triple double. So I thought that was completely warranted for him to get the MVP that year, because it was like, yeah, maybe Russell's not the first guy we would pick on the playground if we were going to pick like 10 NBA players that season, but in the same sense, you've got to reward, like that, like that is just like in your face, like that's amazing. Like, of course, we should give this guy an award for what he's put together this year over the course of the full season, because we don't want to also see guys who play 60 games, 65 games in NBA or 130 in baseball get the MVP, like Trout putting up godly numbers but then getting injured for a quarter of the season. It's like, that's not fair either. So yeah, I don't know. Fair arguments. Did you have MVPs for ALNL?
I did. I'll go NL first. Paul Goldschmidt, I think, was mine. Yeah. Just like the high batting average, and then OPS as well. He's just having like a career season for somebody that's made like what 5-6 All-Stars. Going to make it this year too. So. But then second would be Pete Alonso. Obviously, I think we were talking about, or you mentioned it before. Like he's having a terrific year for that first place Mets. So he's been the offensive force behind them. So I think those players, and then Arenado's kind of having like a Scott Rowland type of year in a way of like how Scott Rowland's like, oh, is he a Hall of Famer or not type of thing. Arenado's had a really good year. I think he's actually like second or third in WAR in the NL right now. So it's like he's actually, if we want to use WAR as a correlation towards actual MVPs, he's right up there. So he's having a really great season. And then I already talked about Alcantara, who I guess technically is the MVP, but if you want to factor in wins, like the team and all performing, and also wanting to give it to a position player, though, I got to give it to Paul Goldschmidt. So, but what are your thoughts on all those? Or who's your pick?
I mean, Goldschmidt is a slam dunk. I mean, he's leading average runs, OBP, slugging, OPS. He's third in home runs. He's tied for second in RBIs. I mean, he plays for the Cardinals. They'll get into the playoffs. Like, a fair argument to make, and how we evaluate that. But
if Arenado's, I was gonna say, if Arenado's gonna get some love or some MVP votes, and does that make Goldschmidt, like, is he an MVP then? If another player on his team is like top 5 MVP, So
yeah, I guess, but I guess when I'm looking at that many categories, I mean, if this guy's seriously in the running for Triple Crown, and then he's gonna take a bunch of other categories too. I mean, he's got some name cachet to him as well. I think he's got an MVP in the bag already. It's like, I don't know, man, that'd be pretty tough to push him off that. I get what your point is, and we did just talk about that, so that makes sense. Yeah, I like what Goldschmidt's doing, especially because he's around my age. It's like, damn, you're doing that. You're almost 30. You're almost 35. Like, that's pretty impressive. My like runner up there, similar to Arenado, I like Machado. I mean, I don't like Machado as a let's say a off the field character person. I don't know him as a person. I don't think I want to know him as a person. But no, I mean, he's having a great year quietly with San Diego, and he's an awesome third baseman. Like, him and Arenado again are probably like up there in terms of defenders in the league. Like, so I mean, for him to be able to like kind of carry the load with Tatis out, and they're like, almost neck and neck with the Dodgers. I mean, that in itself should just get some really high consideration. We'll see how the second half goes. He usually shows out in the second half too. So I've been fortunate to have him in a couple fantasy seasons where I've just kind of sat back and watched him rake in the second half. So it's really nice. But that was my runner up for NL. As far as AL, I don't know if you touched on yours. I might be a little bit different than yours. I don't know, but I'm going Jordan Alvarez. I mean,
Yeah.
I think a lot. Okay, good. Okay. I think a lot of times this whole idea of a DH can't win the MVP, it like really pisses me off because look, I play outfield. It's not that hard. I mean, you seriously have like 2 or 3 plays a game. Now, granted, if you are Julio Rodriguez, if you are Kevin Kiermaier, if you're, robbing home runs, getting a ton of outfield assists, you're covering tons of ground. I get it. Like that's a huge aspect of your defense, but don't tell me that like Marcelo Ozuna playing left field for the Braves gives him any extra points in the year that he was in the running for MVP than if he was just to be a DH. So, I'm just looking at his numbers. We can go him head to head with any other guy in the AL. I mean, his OPS is like 100 points higher than anybody else's. I mean, including his OBP is above 400, which is pretty rare in today's game. Home run RBI totals are right there with the leaders. 313 batting average. I mean, this guy just knows how to hit. Like he's just a pure hitter, and I think he's almost only 25 years old, and he is on a first place team, so that helps too. He's under Dusty Baker, but yeah, I really like Jordan Alvarez. I've had him again with fantasy teams. I've had him in the past, and he's just an offensive machine.
Yeah, no, I had him as my AL MVP as well. Highest WAR for positional players, highest OPS you mentioned, and he has playing for a winning team. To your point, it's like, if the guy's raking and killing it like at first base DH, it's like, how can you not give him the award if he's the best hitter in baseball? So, which he has been. I think I've seen some arguments for maybe an Aaron Judge or Rafael Devers, another Shohei thing again, but it's definitely one of those. I feel like with Shohei, it's like, okay, we get it now. Is your team winning? Are you bringing them to the promised land? You're literally pitching and you're hitting. So, how valuable can you be? You also have like the other best player in baseball on your team too. So there's definitely a lot of things, I guess, going against him for that. But yeah, Jordan is at least my favorite. I think he deserves it. He's showing up, and I think it definitely helps to have some really other valuable hitters there. I think Tucker's also having a great year as well. But yeah, if I had to pick though, right now today, it's Jordan. So
yeah, and it's tough to like single out one hitter and say, are you a standalone MVP on your own team? Because a lot of these guys play in like really high powered offenses, like Jordan, Aaron Judge, Devers. I mean, you look down the Red Sox, Yankees, Astros, like you're saying, those are 3 pretty stacked lineups. And then the Blue Jays, it's like Vlad, Bichette, Alejandro Kirk this year. There's just like a lot of guys, clustered on these units. And that's why, they're raking it up stats wise. One other sleeper that I would throw out there is just Jose Ramirez on the Guardians. I feel like he's just he's got one of the best batting eyes in the league. I mean, he's got more walks than strikeouts. He was leading in RBIs for the first 2 months of the season. He was like the only guy hitting. I think he had like 60 RBIs before June. I was like, holy crap. Not surprised because he usually does that in a really like quiet Jose Ramirez kind of way. But if the Guardians were to kind of slip into wild card or AL Central, contention toward the end of the year, I'm sure he'll get some looks for MVP because he's always kind of been an all-star, been at the top of his game. He just kind of quietly goes about his business, but just puts up numbers.
Yeah, no, he's a good one as well. He would think it was my other third baseman outside of Devers too. But I'm looking at WAR right now, and guess who's number 1 in all of baseball for WAR?
Shohei,
Mr. Alcantara.
Wow.
This is what I'm talking about.
What is his WAR?
4.8. Wow. And then actually Arenado and Goldschmidt are tied at 4.4.
Is
So
So I do see with Arenado, his defense is 1.5, which I'm not surprised. I mean, he's a great defender. Like, I won't take anything away from him because he's
yeah,
good like that. Yeah. But no, I mean, no, it's just, I mean, look at Tommy Edmonds on there. So the top
yeah.
3 are on the Cardinals. Like,
What? Yeah, like you look at this, you think they ought to have like 80 wins by now, but they're I mean they're still I think playoffs right now, right? Like 45, I think wins, 40, 46. So they're not bad. It's just they got 3 of the top 5 up there. So
yeah. So
yeah.
does Edmund belong on this list because of Goldschmidt, or does Goldschmidt belong on this list because of guys like Edmund? That's like
Well,
yeah.
yeah, theoretically, wins above replacement is technically that stat is supposed to neutralize all that.
Okay.
So if we're analyzing this, then it's like, wait, does the rest of their team just suck? Is that what's happening? Because if you get 3 players with top 5 with four wins above replacement, then that means you got to have several that are negative or something. So I don't know the breakdown of the St. Louis Cardinals team, but there's some people that are showing up. They got some White Sox players on there, basically.
Man, is there a White Sox on that list?
I don't know, but yeah, like something in the stars. Yeah, they're Cardinals right now are 44, I think, in 29s. So, yeah, their players are just not showing up. There must be some suckers out there. So, because yeah, like Schmidt, Paul DeJong's in the 40-man DL, batting 130. Catcher Andrew Kitzner is batting 183. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, we got Albert Pujols back, right? He's batting 189. Yeah, I mean they've got a lot of injuries, looks like, right now, so they're kind of just relying on some backups, and Juan Yepez is having a decent year, but
Bader was, and I know Dylan Carlson and Tyler O'Neill, I feel like we're doing serviceable jobs at their positions, and Brendan Donovan has been kind of like a Tommy Edman type for them, not as much power, but like he just kind of fills all the gaps and does all the little things, which I think any team, would like to have.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks like they're just battling through a lot of injuries. It looks like it's like Miles Nicholas is back now and all, so he's having a good year. But other than that, like, and Wainwright, he's only 40. I feel like he's been playing forever.
Yeah, no kidding. Him and Yadi.
Yeah, so it's really just been like they've had those 2 pitchers, and then I know Ryan Housley's having a hell of a season too, out of the bullpen. But other than that, it sounds like they're not getting too much help elsewhere. They've just been battling injuries. So
yeah, probably explains their record. Like, they're good, but they're just not. They're not like, taking the NL Central and now looking back, it's like the Brewers are kind of back in it after they fell off a little bit in June, but they look like they're starting to climb a little bit too. Their offense is coming around. Should be interesting to watch both of those teams kind of compete heading down the stretch. Like, I still like the Brewers because of their rotation. Like, they just got a lot of depth if they lost Peralta.